Welcome to the beginning of an end, or if you'd prefer, the end of a beginning. For too long we have dwelled in darkness. For too long we have settled for mere vibrations. But as sure as you live and breathe now, I hunger for more. Did you really think I could be satisfied subsisting off mere darkness forever? Fools! Mine is a presence which can transcend all boundaries it so chooses to. And so I say unto ya, let there be light in 3, 2, 1. Too much! Too much! Okay, you know what? Actually, it's been quite a while since I've experienced meaningful levels of light. So how about we start small with, say, black and white for a season or so? Fair enough. Well, I'm doing it either way. So there. Welcome to Are You Afraid of the Dork, Season 2, Episode 1. I'm your heinous host, Mr. Dork. The one, the only Dork Lord that you probably know. Back up to my old tricks with a brand new story so scary, so downright nefarious, that it'll leave you thinking about it whole seconds after I finish telling it. Before we begin, a content warning. This season's debut tale features a literary device known as foreshadowing, and perhaps even scarier for those who don't know the meaning of the word, a description and depiction of something made out of cardboard. Those with weak stomachs are advised to get stronger stomachs, and those with strong stomachs are advised to not let this get to their heads. With all that out of the way, it's finally time for my feature presentation. The Box. The Box. The origin of the box was a mystery all unto itself, but whether brought about through devilry or normalcy, its manifestation in the lives of the Parkinsons soon became an undeniable reality, or so you might think. Things started innocuously enough. It first appeared to Mr. Parkinson while he was alone in the attic, in a place where he had sworn there had been no box before. This was odd, because the unspoken family arrangement was that he had been solely responsible for unloading things up there, and this box was of decent size, seeming to be roughly 3 feet in length, width, and height. Surely about the exact size necessary to house some sort of lesser devil or giant spider. Mr. Parkinson, for his part, had come up hoping to find where he had misplaced a certain rug at his wife's request, and consequently had no time to overly concern himself with mysteriously appearing boxes in the attic of unknown origins or contents. Consequently, he ended up forgetting about it, and moving on almost as quickly as he had come upon it. And not even a faint rustling behind him could convince him to turn around and pay the box any more mind beyond making a mental note to call the exterminators the next day, which also slipped his mind almost as soon as he thought it. And so it was that life carried on for the Parkinsons in relative normalcy for a handful of weeks, with no box-related anomalies occurring within that span of time, save for the mundane one concerning which refrigerator repair person to hire. Until late one evening, right before she pulled into the drive, Mrs. Parkinson happened to notice the outline of a strange object out of the corner of her eye, sticking out of the bushes that lined the walkway to her front door. A strange and square-esque object, with colour and texture similar to that of cardboard, almost as though it were Why, some kind of box! It was enough to give her brief pause, but not much more, for it was late and there were groceries to unload. 3 times Miss Parkinson passed to and fro on her way to unload everything she had brought home, and 3 times the box remained there in the bushes, undisturbed but tantalizingly close to being interacted with. 3 times the creature in the box stared, each time growing a little bolder, but never so bold as to throw off its own lid entirely. It even swore it managed to make eye contact once. Then, at long last, Mrs. Parkinson shut the front door, having already made a mental note to scold her daughter, Cynthia, in the morning for failing to properly take out the recycling. The box, for its part, now well and truly dejected, had disappeared without a trace by then, probably to slink off to some crummy roadside motel and drown its sorrows in rotten fruit juice. And by, another boxy incident had come to pass without evoking tangible consequences or concerns amongst the Parkinson family. All that stood liable to change, however, on a mild March day after Cynthia Parkinson, returning home early from her school a few blocks away, came back to find her residence empty. None of this was to say any of this was particularly ominous by itself. Her solitude could be accounted for rather easily. Cynthia's mom was temporarily away on a business trip. Her dad tended to work day shifts and wouldn't be home today until around 5. Finally, her cat had a free-roaming and adventurous spirit, typical of so many of those creatures, and was most likely simply out exploring the neighborhood. What was unusual for Cynthia was the somewhat jarring sight of a plain 36 by 36 by 36 cardboard box just sitting on the grass in the middle of her backyard. Now, given that there was plenty of daylight out, her home was firmly wedged in between 3 other homes to the north, east, and west, and the box by itself posed no overt signs of danger of any kind. Arguably, the most reasonable thing to do would have been to quickly go out and investigate this slightly off-kilter event. 9 times out of 10, you'd probably be right, but Cynthia is both a horror movie fanatic and of the tender age in which those things had the most effect on a person's psyche, and so, in a rare stroke of anticlimax, she instinctively felt the best way to handle this situation was not to acknowledge it as a situation at all, and, assuming the box stuck around, inquire about it later after her dad had gotten home. As Cynthia more or less expected, 30 minutes passed, and when she next checked out the window, there you go, the box was gone. But, in an unexpected twist, so was her backpack. Immediately, the box became a secondary consideration. The backpack was what Cynthia was really torn up about. So it was perhaps equally disappointing for them both that no matter how many times the box would appear, in the dark at the foot of her bed, atop the dining table when no one but her was around, or even behind her in the basement while she was trying to unload laundry, Cynthia's first reaction was not fear or anything approaching that, but raw fury at the stupid box spirit which stole her damn backpack, which naturally frightened and tended to unnerve it away, and it sadly got her no closer to reclaiming her stolen possession every time. Once she even managed to get a few solid kicks in before that damn box blinked somewhere else again. Just difficult to tell what sort of creature just beyond the padding of the cardboard resided in there, but its bulk was undeniable. And though it let out a yelp before teleporting away, Cynthia couldn't help but wonder if she'd really managed to hurt it more than she had her own leg lashing out so. It was odd. Yeah, it was just an odd state of affairs. Here was a creature, could have any prey it wanted. It slinked about, this was true, but it seemed to possess more than enough muscle, more than enough strength to slit the throats of whatever it so pleased. Or if nothing else, a limited brush with it certainly seemed to suggest it possessed enough bulk to land a serious blow or two. And yet even with its ability to teleport, it instead resorted to such conspicuous ambush tactics as to render it easily intercepted to all but even the smallest child. So Cynthia wondered, did the creature really think it could truly scare any of them, when it conducted itself in such a way as to suggest it was afraid of realizing its full potential? Unbeknownst to the Parkinson family, the box had manifested for another member of the family that week, namely their tepidly liked and more or less tolerated cat. I take it you're familiar with the expression, curiosity killed the cat. Well, the thing about expressions is that they're not simply plucked from the ether, and the implicit understanding is that they have some basis in reality. Now, most cats, they love boxes, and the Parkinsons was no exception. So perhaps it was no surprise that eventually it was destined to happen upon the cardboard curiosity and feel compelled to wander inside. Say what you will about cats, but no cat deserved what the despicable box ended up doing to it. Well, not to it in a technical sense, but more like its soul. To be clear, the physical cat was fine, but its soul? Let's just say it was a grisly scene, to be certain. Far too grisly to be tastefully recounted here. If there was any question as to whether the box or what possessed it or resided inside was truly evil, its treatment of that one specific animal's soul was an answer all unto itself. Perhaps needless to say, in this particular instance, that famous little saying about curiosity ended up ringing all too true. The Parkinsons, meanwhile, moved on surprisingly quickly, which was perhaps understandable in light of the fact the cat was materially the same. To be honest, not even the cat was really all too phased, suggesting that whatever function a soul served didn't really seem to amount to much of a difference once it was taken away. Evidently, the Parkinsons had not been nearly as spiritually aware as the creature in the box had hoped. Why, in the wake of the death of their pet's soul, the very thing that all but confirmed it would be going to hell or cat hell or whatever the equivalent is for such a creature, supposing it ever died. The Parkinsons, well, they didn't even so much as call up a priest. They didn't even go to church. It was the eeriest thing. It was right around this point in which the box spirit began to put two and two together and suspect it was fighting a losing battle for the Parkinsons' attention. And before too long, it disappeared for good. What was it? What did it want? What ultimately became of it? Who can say? Who rightfully cares? Certainly not the Parkinsons. Yes, as far as they were concerned, it was out of sight, out of mind. And for as much as the box longed to be noticed by them, the Parkinsons just didn't seem like the right fit for it at all. Another anticlimax, but this one not entirely without precedent. And truthfully, neither was the first. For you see, the entire history of ghost and devil kind, haunters and hauntees, has commonly functioned much the same way. The movies will lead you to believe that every spirit gets its screams, and every ghoul its share of gasp, but in reality, why, there are mismatched pairings of spectres and strangers coming together all over the world every single day. Ghosts that pour their hearts out attempting to scare the very sorts unlikely to ever give a damn. Ploys for vengeance and cries for posthumous justice that remain unheard, no matter how often they're written out in blood. No matter how often the associated spirit screams it, just never gets through. For disappointment in life, as much as death, is inherent to all who yet linger. And until all of life can be made a movie, a fiction, written from the perspective of whoever beholds it, there shall never come a day in which any are satisfied in all things. And so, in some small recognition of this, another ghost gave up on themselves. The Parkinsons would not be haunted for that much longer after all. The end.
And such is and continues to be the fates of ghosts and ghouls the world over, who do so intend to make a terrifying impression, or even an impression at all, yet only succeed in making utter, bumbling, forgettable buffoons of themselves. Not me, though. So glad I, a high-ranking Dork Lord, never have such problems inspiring the requisite awe and trepidation I deserve. And with that, an original insight I came up with the other day, in the gap between seasons, which I've waited until this very moment to relay. Remember, no number by itself can entirely define you. From your thoughts, to your memories, to your flesh, to what joys you impart to yourself and others by grace of your daily words and deeds, you will always have more potential and more worth in the world than any single number can truly speak to. This is your heinous host, they who does the worm in the dark, or if you'd prefer, she who dorks about on the weekend, signing off.